Dr. Ahmad Taposhi, Medical Officer, Asania Mission Cancer and General Hospital. Today I'll be presenting a case of carcinoma of breast with stomach metastasis. A 45-year-old lady, young lady, married, housewife, Para 1, premenopausal at the time of diagnosis. Her comorbidities were diabetes mellitus and hypertension. She had no past medical history or no family history of any malignancies. In November 2017, she had presented with the complaints of two lumps in her left breast. Ultrasound of both breasts revealed left breast masses, two in number, one measuring 13 into 6 millimeter at 2 o'clock position and another one measuring 15 into 18 millimeter at 9 o'clock position. And left axillary lymph node was also there, measuring 14 into 13 millimeter. A core biopsy was done from her left breast lump, which showed invasive ductal carcinoma, grade 2. Lymphovascular invasion and perineural invasion were not seen. On 11th November 2017, she had undergone a simple mastectomy of the left breast with axillary dissection from level 1 to 3. The post-mastectomy histopathology revealed infiltrating lobular carcinoma, moderately differentiated with lymph node metastasis. There were 17 and all 17 lymph nodes showed metastasis. The tumor size was 2.5 into 2 centimeter. Lymphovascular invasion was seen, however, perineural invasion was not seen. The resection margins were free. Tumor infiltration into surrounding soft tissue was present. The pathological stage was PT2, PN3, PNX. The hormone receptor was ER and PR positive, HER2 negative. She was then commenced on chemotherapy with AC protocol. She received 3 cycles up to 23rd January 2018. Unfortunately, she had to discontinue her treatment due to increased serum ALT levels. Following this, she had not received any oncological management for 3 months. A PET-CT scan was done on March 2018, which showed no evidence of metabolic active disease in her body. She had received radiotherapy, locoregional 40 gray 15 fraction, up to 4th May 2018 at Mumbai, India. She was then started on hormone therapy with tablet tamoxifen and injection leuprolide acetate, 3.75 milligram once every month for the initial 6 months, followed by 22.5 milligram once every 3 months till June 2021. She was then on regular follow-up 4 monthly until January 2021. On June 2021, she had new presenting symptoms, which included abdominal pain for 2 weeks. The pain was dull, constant, particularly localized over the epigastric region. She did not have any other symptoms. Following this, she had done an ultrasound of the whole abdomen, which showed slightly bulky uterus, but no other abnormalities. Her CA 15.3 was 368, and her CA 19.9 was 149. She herself, due to her symptoms, she herself did 2 upper GI endoscopies from 2 different institutions. On 13 June, the endoscopy that she did reveals multiple small nodular lesion with surface ulceration involving the whole body and antrum of the stomach. The lumen, mucosa, and vascular pattern of the rest of the stomach were normal. The biopsy report revealed adenocarcinoma poorly differentiated with ulceration over the surface. This slide was reviewed and the interpretation was adenocarcinoma poorly differentiated diffuse type. IHC was done, which showed HER2 2+. The second upper GI endoscopy, which was done on 19 June, showed multiple ulcers at the antrum of the stomach. Multiple small polyps and nodules were also seen throughout the stomach. Multiple tiny nodules were seen in the second part of the duodenum. The biopsy from this endoscopy was done, and adenocarcinoma poorly differentiated signet ridge cell type was diagnosed. This slide was also reviewed, and it was reviewed as adenocarcinoma poorly differentiated diffuse type. IHC was done, which showed HER2 positive, cytokeratin, pankeratin positive, CK7 positive. The interpretation was gastric adenocarcinoma. This IHC slide was again reviewed, and this time it showed GATA3 positive, mammoglobin focal positive, CDX2 negative. Here the comment was metastatic ductal carcinoma of breast. Since this was suspicious to us, we repeated an upper GI endoscopy on 5th August 2021, and it showed multiple nodules seen at the walls of the antrum of the stomach. The biopsy here showed metastatic adenocarcinoma, suggestive of metastatic duct cell carcinoma. The IHC revealed GATA3 positive, and the comment was metastatic ductal carcinoma of breast. Her ER was positive, PR and HER2 were negative. Please note she had done a PET CT scan on 8 July 2021, and the report were like this: no definite recurrent mass or abnormal FDG uptake in the left mastectomy site and axilla, multiple prominent non-avid right axillary lymph nodes with preserved hilar fat. Reactive nodes were likely. Mild diffuse FDG uptake, ACV max 3.1 in the stomach. However, no definite nodular lesions were there. Multiple tiny hyperdense nodules in both lungs with mild FDG uptake, ACV max 2.1 in most of the nodules, suggesting metastatic lesions. Mild hepatomegaly with fatty change, no definite soft tissue mass or abnormal FDG uptake. A few subcentimetric para-aortic and mesenteric lymph nodes without FDG uptake were seen. No other suspicious lesion or abnormal FDG uptake elsewhere in the body. Now, our question is there any need for further investigations? And what should be the next plan of management? And which is more suitable option, chemotherapy or hormone therapy? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anita, for presenting a very interesting case and very nicely. So we are moving on to our panel for expert discussion. First of all, Professor Don Dizon, sir, your opinion on this case and regarding the question.
Well, actually, would you mind do you have a pathologist on that can talk through the dilemma? Because I think that's critical.
We have. Kotecha, madam, are you with us?
I bring this up because here in Rhode Island, it's very interesting. It is not uncommon for us to see people with dual primaries either presenting at the same time or 4 years later. And then the question is always, is it a metastatic disease or a primary? From the looks of the EGD, it looks like it's metastatic. There's not one gastric lesion with a major ulcer. It looks like multiple erosions, but just would want to make sure the pathology we're clear on.
Kotecha, madam, would you like to comment on this particular issue? Because the diagnosis approx 4 years back, then a lesion came in the stomach. It came out to be initially gastric cancer, then metastatic ductal cell carcinoma. What is your comment on?
Yes, John, I was talking, but I was not aware that I was muted. So I'm sorry. So yes, actually there was a lesion in the stomach, and that was first, it was diagnosed as adenocarcinoma stomach. And given a history of breast cancer, I think at that very moment, that lesion should have been evaluated first, that whether it is a metastasis or not. And I think the GATA3 and all the tests were done on subsequent endoscopic biopsies. Am I correct?
Yeah.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, that's what I am just worried about. Otherwise, I think because GATA3 is positive, and also CK7 may also be positive in breast carcinomas, and CDX2 was negative, and everything goes in favor of a metastasis. And there were multiple sites also involvement of multiple sites at the stomach. And mammoglobin was also, I think, focally positive. So it is quite likely, I think, that it could be a case of metastatic breast carcinoma metastasized into the stomach.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
About that, it should have been done in the first on the first 5. Yes, that's what I'm just.
But Don Dizon, sir, this is very uncommon. What do you say, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I know she got AC chemotherapy, but did she get anti-hormone therapy as well? I think I missed that.
Tamoxifen she received
and Lupron.
along with
Okay.
ovarian function suppression for
Yeah.
reasonable time. OFS
Okay. So,
for-
there's a rule of thumb that I often will use in the absence of, genomics information for hormone positive disease. I learned this when I was at Sloan Kettering as a fellow. The risk of metastasis is 10% for each centimeter of tumor size and 7% for positive lymph nodes. Obviously, when you have 17 positive lymph nodes, that risk of a recurrence goes out the window because it's over 100%. However, if she were treated here, we would have given her AC followed by paclitaxel. Now, I did have a patient who had Gilbert syndrome, where her LFTs did go up on doxorubicin Cytoxan. And what we ended up doing was dose reducing the AC, and we were able to get her through. But surprisingly, it was on Taxol she started to do the same thing, and we had to hold the Taxol. Now, given her really significant tumor size and node involvement, I would have tried to pursue AC followed by Taxol, and probably would have gotten a gastroenterologist involved to help guide that management. Then following that, given her age, I think absolutely ovarian function suppression. Whether or not you use that with tamoxifen or an AI was debatable, but it looks like ovarian function suppression plus endocrine therapy is better than endocrine therapy alone in these young women with very high risk disease based on the soft and text trials. Here, we would have done ovarian function suppression plus an aromatase inhibitor, just for the several percentage, probably single digit proportional improvement in outcomes if you use an AI rather than tamoxifen. But she went 4 years before having disease in her stomach, and she presents with symptoms, and I think that's important. So, the guidance between endocrine therapy or chemotherapy is often based on symptoms. Usually we think of end organ damage, so multiple large pulmonary nodules with some component of shortness of breath would be considered. Liver metastases causing pain or dysfunction could be considered for chemotherapy. If she was writhing in pain and bedbound from her gastric tumors burden, then perhaps I would have done chemotherapy in that context. However, for these patients, we know first-line treatment of metastatic disease, chemotherapy has equivalent outcomes to endocrine therapy, and the options are better now for endocrine therapy. So her approach in the United States, we would likely do a CDK4/6 inhibitor plus AI, or even fulvestrant, since she's coming off of an AI with this disease. But we would CDK4/6 inhibitor plus endocrine therapy, and we would send her tumor for genomic sequencing, predominantly to look for a PIK3CA mutation to see if she would be ultimately a candidate for a PIK3CA inhibitor, alpelisib, with endocrine therapy. Barring the absence of that, CDK4/6 plus AI, progression, you could move to everolimus with fulvestrant.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Now let's move on to our surgical oncology colleague, Professor Topesh sir. Your opinion regarding this case?
I think this is a case of disseminated peritoneal deposits which enter into the stomach through the surface of the stomach. So the ulceration occurs in some areas, and some areas it looks like a polyp. And we saw one slide showing that it has been shown in duodenum also. So I think if I do a laparoscopy, it will reveal that there will be disseminated peritoneal deposits, and it's a metastatic one. So the chemotherapy or hormone therapy, it will be dependent upon the medical oncologist. But my thinking is that it's not metastasis in the stomach, rather it metastasis in the peritoneal cavity.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
For this patient, I think diagnosis is almost is very clear. That is, it's a case of breast cancer with metastasis, because we have done endoscopy and endoscopic biopsy, and we have confirmed it by 2 times with immunohistochemistry. So I think this is a case of metastasis from breast cancer, and considering the diagnosis, I think as per guideline, because there is no visceral crisis here, we should go for systemic therapy along with CDK 4/6 inhibitor. My treatment choice will be like this. If we do not consider financial problem and other things, I think the first line treatment should be like this from my side.
Thank you, sir. Rajesh sir, your kind opinion?
Thank you, Arnanshu. So, as pointed out by Dizon and others, this patient has had definitely having a metastasis from the breast that the pathologist also has confirmed. The things which go in favor of metastasis from the breast is like usually what we find is the luminal breast cancers, they have more metastasis, more visceral metastasis. This sort of like abnormal locations, luminal breast cancers, they have metastasis. One good thing which we need to remember. And another thing like how to differentiate whether it's a primary from the stomach or primary or secondary deposits. One thing is basically the endoscopy findings is very typical. If it is involving the mucosal thing, it's most probably more like a primary malignancy of the stomach, and when there is submucosa which is more involved, like in form of a nodules and nodules going into ulcerate, it's more like a secondary deposit. Only one investigation which you can say to differentiate it during the endoscopy itself is you have a microscopy endoscopy where you can see whether there's any microvessels present or not. If microvasculature is more, then it's more in terms of a metastasis rather than a primary. And the treatment aspect wise, no, I would just say like because the patient is having peritoneal deposits, it's better to go with systemic treatment rather than surgery. But if peritoneal deposits, like it's only located in the stomach and there is no other lesion present anywhere else, this patient also has lung nodules on the PET. So it's more like a PET showing like a lung nodules and peritoneal deposits where it's almost like a very disseminated disease. Suppose if those two findings are not there, what I would have done is I would have asked for a surgeon to go ahead with surgery followed by chemotherapy. And there is one study which had shown with breast cancer metastasis in the stomach, when they have found out like if you do surgery followed by chemotherapy, they do much better than directly giving chemotherapy alone. So, but surgery is not indicated in this patient because of the peritoneal deposit dissemination and lung nodules which is present. This is one thing. And as Dr. Dizon has pointed, we need to definitely do whether there is any genetic mutations associated or not. Most of the time, when there is a stomach metastasis, what we find is it could be either a CGH1 mutation or a BRCA2 mutation, which could be positive. So we might need to look at that also and see whether the patient is more prone for hereditary, like what you call like a gastric disease also. So these two things also we need to keep in mind. But only one test, which is pathologic test, which is like the HNF alpha 4A alpha, I think. So that is more specific than the other molecules. HNF is hepatocyte nuclear factor 4 alpha, which is 100% specific to breast cancer metastasis. But not many places have that IHC marker.
I totally agree with the BRCA and the genetic testing. We do that with all of our people who come in with breast cancer now. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh sir. In this particular case, I am more in favor of Rajesh sir opinion regarding the systemic therapy. Don Dizon sir, what is your opinion? Because in spite of giving only the endocrine therapy, but this patient has never got Taxane, which she's supposed to receive because of a huge nodal burden. So based on that history also, should we give initial Taxanes, then we go to endocrine therapy? Because it's an advanced disease, she never received systemic therapy with the Taxanes, and it's now a metastatic one, followed by endocrine. What do you think, sir?
I never think that that's a wrong approach. I mean, I think if one gave her Taxol or a taxane, I don't think anyone would fault you. But remember, the goal, the objectives of our treatment plan have to come in. This is not curative any longer. So really, in terms of we want to treat her, we want to treat her appropriately, but we also have to maintain her quality of life. And if this is a woman who feels she doesn't want to lose her hair, I would absolutely take that into account. Especially in the setting when you cannot cure this, it's palliative only. But and again, the clinical trial data suggests, even if you go back to the historical studies before Taxol, that chemotherapy affords the same benefits as endocrine therapy now in today's age. And again, I go back to the idea that we don't have just an AR tamoxifen to offer such a person. We actually also have new biologics. And in this case, the CDK4/6 inhibitors in the first line have been shown to improve overall survival, which was just recently published. So again, I think, modern treatment for hormone positive metastatic breast cancer has improved greatly. Probably the last thing I would say, because she was on Lupron and had an AI, we would always want to make sure that she was appropriately ovarian suppressed. So checking those estrogen levels, ensuring that she had non-detectable estrogen on Lupron, which she should, is also going to be important as you move forward.
Thank you, sir. Kamrujaman, sir?
Yes, this is the case from our institute. Actually, when we got the case, and when patient came, that chemotherapy and radiotherapy they took outside of our institute. They came with the problem like the abdominal distension and others. And then we got this, the patient has a nodular lesion in the stomach, and we did 2 times we did the biopsy, and we also could send for the NGS, but we did, as the tissue was very inadequate, we didn't able to send for the NGS in this case. As the patient, we know this patient initial diagnosis of the lobular carcinoma. We know there is a tendency of lobular carcinoma to metastasize in the GI and also bone, and in also the organ like ovarian and other cases. So we repeatedly did the endoscopic examination and immunocytochemistry. We found there's a GATA and CDK7 positive, mammographin positive. But one thing is that missing was that the CK20 was not done during the IC of these tissues and in these cases. As the patient was really become a toxic getting the chemotherapy, only she got 3 cycles of chemotherapy and she left the chemotherapies, only took the radiation therapies. We, in our MTD, we planned for the patients, as the patient doesn't want to take the chemotherapy. We started with us CDK4 and 6 inhibitors along with the AI. So till now patient is getting this type of treatments. And we thought that we should discuss, as there is only few case reports in the different journals, that there is no clinical guidelines regarding the stomach mass especially. So we thought that we should have this discussion with our JCI in the board regarding what the opinions of the different oncologists. So that is our opinion. We started with the hormonal manipulations, and if the patients progress, then we'll go for the systemic therapy. We know that there is no clinical guidelines in this case especially. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we should move on to our second case.
Oranshu,
Yes.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Regarding the HER2 positive, if it is, how if we exclude that the HER2 positive is not here? Because if it is HER2 positive, definitely chemotherapy was the best option.
The last biopsy showed HER2 is negative, right? That is the reason we are thinking about going to endocrine therapy, CDK4/6 inhibitor.
Yes, the last biopsy revealed HER2 negative.
Shajal, was that the question or?
That's it. What is the how it confirmed that this has to previous HER2 was not correct?
Okay, previous HER2 was negative, right? I
Positive.
remember. Okay.
It was 2. Was it 2+? I think it was 2+.
Yes.
Yes, previously
Yes,
it
it
was
was
2.
2+. The one which was
Yes,
done on
2+.
27 June, it was 2+. And on July, it was done again and it was 2+ as well. It was positive. And on August, 18 August, it's revealed to be negative.
Khudra madam, can you please explain about this issue?
Which issue? Just what is the question actually?
The question is how can we be more sure that this is HER negative disease, because the initial it was 2+ in the first diagnosis, but
Yes.
later on from stomach it came as HER2 negative. Shajol asking a question whether how can we be sure?
Yeah, the initial biopsy shows HER2 positivity, right? From the stomach. The initial biopsy was HER2 positive, and the second biopsy came out as HER2 negative. I think it was initially HER2 positive, the metastatic site. So it can happen. There are some mutations or mutative changes or epigenetic changes or second mutation. Frequently, we see that in metastatic areas and second set of metastasis also there is some change in the hormonal picture of the lesion. And also one thing is here that this case was HER2 positive at first, and then CK7 was positive and cytokeratin was positive. Actually, cytokeratin is of least value over here, as it was HER2 positive, the case. And also it was written over here that it was ductal carcinoma, poorly differentiated. And another, there is some dilemma in the histological diagnosis. In one diagnosis, it was written as signet ring cell carcinoma. So I also have another question: that was the primary breast tumor was immunostain was done for differentiating its lobular or ductal type by E-Catherine or not? Because, if we want to call it lobular carcinoma, it should be pleomorphic. Maybe pleomorphic lobular carcinomas are usually more aggressive. And so E-Catherine immunostain, I think it's necessary to differentiate the exact nature of the cancer. And as Rajesh was saying, that luminal A-type ductal carcinomas are more prone to develop metastatic lesions. So these things, there are some discrepancies in the diagnosis in all three steps.
Yeah, and I also say just for Professor Begum and the last comment, this is likely to become more of an issue in breast cancer. There is an entity now that's percolating up in clinical breast cancer of HER2 low. So it might make a difference if she's HER2 new IHC 0 versus IHC 1 or 2 plus. And even if she's FISH negative, and this is coming up because of the antibody drug conjugates seem to have some activity that use trastuzumab, mind you, seem to have activity in these HER2 low breast cancers, and also the ones that don't respond to, say, TDM1. And specifically the drug trastuzumab deruxtecan. That one had an almost 40% response rate in metastatic breast cancer that was deemed HER2 low, which is HER2 IHC 1 or 2 plus. So I think breaking this out becomes more important. I agree with Dr. Begum. But, clarifying that she doesn't have two primaries seems like it's really important as well.